Good morning, everybody, and I'm much happy to teach. Teach for your class, and perhaps I think, some of the things I would discuss today may be familiar to you, and you might know better than me, and you are welcome to add anything in case. Uh, if you feel like, and also you may ask questions at the middle if you need. My topic is what is new media. Uh, when I ask what needs to cover, uh, this was I was given a comparison to traditional media specification of new media and benefits, new media usage in Sri Lanka, how to use Google products in daily life. So these are the learning outcomes. I think I would like to, uh, ask this question from me rather than myself answering. What is media? Before talking about new media, I think there are no right or wrong answers, but I would like to hear from you. I hope it's not a difficult question.
Sir, can media be a tool used in communication? So media can either be print media or can be electronic media or mass media. So media is a tool of communication.
It's a tool of communication, and it refers to mass media, electronic media, or print media. Is that any other answers?
The media means the main mean of communication, broadcasting, publishing, and the internet regarded collectively.
Right. I think that's more comprehensive and includes new media also. So from that, if I go to, and when there's the term media, why do you think why we need a term called new media?
When comparing to the past, the influence of media is very different from the past times. So it comes to us in a different way and easy to access it.
Yeah. New media kind of marks a historical era where the media landscape has been transformed after certain technical changes in modern society. So, do you have answer to this? What is new media? Before I answer to it, I think some of this has been already told, but okay. Perhaps you don't like to answer, but like earlier said, new media, is it really new? Don't they get old? New is a relative term, I would say. So today new thing can get old. And it is a political thing to name something new. Media actually, when linguistically taken, is the plural of medium. So at certain age, now there's a contemporary meaning, modern meaning of contemporary meaning, that media as mass media or as a communication tool that communicate things to masses. But I think media the term media can be used in other senses also. Perhaps it always doesn't refer to mass media, any type of media that communicates a message to a message to an audience or a receiver. So at new media was named at a certain age. Actually, I think it is perhaps 1970s, 80s. So new media now refers, I think, mostly to internet, but not exactly. New media was also referred to historically looking at the term. It was referred to television and radio. So all traditional media in when the term emerged, the all traditional media was the print actually. So at different ages, new technologies have transformed media landscape. Media landscapes. For example, you think when humans discovered the printing technology, how it would have changed the entire landscape. Or things like even postal service, the ability to send messages across, even the things like mm, the colonialism, for example, when the increase of the globalization. So these things uh, kind of, mm, change the way that media and the communication in the world time to time. So it could be photography, it could be film, internet. So they have marked in a way mm, uh, changes in different ages, I would say. So but mostly today we refer to most of social media as new media. But social media actually differs from the concept of new media. So even looking at uh, something like this, and this was not printed, a cave painting, and this is a kind of media that those days prehistorical people used to communicate to other people, or to communicate a aesthetic message. So I mean, from that age to even historically at certain age, I mean, things like discovery of writing, even from image drawing images, like to discovery of writing, could have been a groundbreaking change in that. So the why we name new media, I would say, because of a historical period. I mean, media became an industry, and I mean, industrialization also result of modernization and the industrial revolution of the perhaps the 18th century. So media was built into industries, and the news became an industry. So from that, when the photography and the film was discovered, uh, I mean, some groundbreaking difference happened. And also from industry to post-industry, from modernism to postmodernism, the changes, a lot of changes happened in 1960s, 70s. So in the definition of new media, actually, now even though now not much referred, uh, television and radio, film, those were part of new media. And but now perhaps everybody would not agree that new media includes the television, because television has long been here, the film has long been here. Now it feels like television is a part of traditional media, debatable still. So new media, when I look into characteristics, uh, new textual experience, so new kind of genre, textual form, uh, entertainment, pleasure, and patterns of media consumption. Perhaps, I mean, it may be things like computer games or special effects cinema. It can include new ways of representing the world, media which in ways that are not always clearly defined offer new representational possibilities experience. So even when we are taken, I mean, from printing press to suddenly converting media into television was a new way of representing the world. So now I think now when it comes to social media, it kind of represent a new virtual world. So we have kind of virtual personalities, virtual beings, virtual lifestyles. So Facebook makes different kind of interactions. So new ways, new media might come with new ways of representing the world and new relationship between the subjects. So one thing in new media, looking at today's media, what new media has changed is the interaction between the perhaps audience and the writers or journalists. So when it comes to newspapers, I mean, audience cannot respond to whatever is happening in media at the time it is happening. So, but in new media, the audiences are very active. They can respond to what is going on. They can criticize or appreciate, or they can share, they can produce new content. So audience is not that passive. So audience has become active, and audience has become perhaps producers. They produce stuff. Sometimes the audience can make newsworthy things that can be picked up by mainstream media, or the audience taken itself together might have trends and all. So it is not the hands of traditional media ownership that, or the way that traditional media was controlled is difficult to control the new media. I'm not saying new media cannot be manipulated. Of course, new media has been manipulated, but in different ways. So a new experience of the relationship between embodiment, identity, and community shifts in the personal social experience of time, space, and place. Sometimes, I mean, different people with different identities, some perhaps some niche markets, people I mean, people who never got much opportunity in traditional media might get much opportunity in social media or the new media. I mean, even looking at lot of my work deals with LGBTIQ community. So looking at the representation of LGBTIQ community for the last decade in the mainstream media and the social media, I see relatively lot of space it's been an opportunity for queer community uh, having the social media spaces. So it has kind of helped to transform the queer representation of the uh, uh, in the queer representation in the media landscape. So even though the traditional media might have reservations, when it comes to new media, they can bring their identity, their community very easily. So there might be other experiences. I mean, those neglected kind of things, neglected news can make new markets in the new media, and from the new media perhaps mainstream media also, traditional media would also pick up mm, things from social media. So new conception of the biological body's relationship to technological media challenges to receive distinction between the human and the artificial, nature and technology, body and media. So things like, I mean, take your Facebook personality. Is it really you, or is it a different character? If you are in Instagram, is your Facebook personality is different from Instagram? Is it two characters? Or if you tweet on Twitter, are you a different person, or the real person is different? So these are kind of, I mean, the biological body's relationship to technological media maybe challenge or maybe look differently. So kind of everybody kind of becomes a media consumer and a producer in social media spaces. So new patterns of organization and production. So wider realignment and the integrations in media, culture, industry, economy, access, ownership, control, and regulation. In more, I will come into these things in a more simple way, but I kind of felt, even though a bit difficult, this kind of in overall lists out what is, I mean, why we name new media and what is happening. I mean, it's why we name is a kind of a socio-political thing. So new media and social media actually different. So this might be more understandable. So there are computer mediated communication like emails, chat rooms, avatar-based communication forums, voice image transmission. So there's a computer, through that we communicate. So new ways, the second category is new ways of distributing and consuming media text characterized by interactivity and hypertextual format. Anybody has heard hypertextual, the term hypertextual? The term hypertextual is something goes beyond text, usual text like written text. It may may represent virtual reality like 3D, also, or include voice, include visual representations. So it is, I mean, something beyond usual writing things, textual things. And so these things interact. I mean, the web, then CD, DVD, podcasts, cast, and various platforms for games, and then different social media. So there are virtual realities and a whole range of transformation and dislocations established in media. For example, photography, animation, television, journalism, film, cinema. That's so from that I would come to social media. Social media, I mean, you all know, and we all have used social media. What happens is in social media that there's a, I think there's a two terms when we divide social and media. So social kind of represent society. So what we see mostly in social media, there is a group of users, maybe millions. So and that is a media. So from the term, what we get is that large mass number of users interact in a kind of virtual reality and making it a medium of communication or media of communication. So social media can be defined as web-based applications or services that exist to allow a series of connections to be made online through a profile or media content. Social media thus allows individuals or group of users to construct and share a particular representation of identity events online through a public or semi-private social networking profile and content creation, and view and share particular content and social connections with other users, view the content and connections with others online profiles. In simple, we can post online post, and sometimes we would be able to share other people's things, and also we would be discussing or commenting. So I think this slide would make it much clear. Uh, so I would like if you can answer who owns traditional media and who owns new media. If we can, it's better if we can go one by one. Are you guys listening? Can you hear me?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So when you say traditional media here, are you referring to the radio and television, telephone? Is those things that you're referring to, sir?
Okay, let's I mean, let's consider let's make a difference between social media and and the other traditional media, not the new media. So from that, let's come to new media also later. So let's say when it's come to social media, who owns them, and when it comes to traditional media, who owns them. So after that, we will broaden it to new media. So my question is, who owns social media, and who owns perhaps a newspaper or a television? You can speak if you didn't understand the things I said. I think I little bit made it a bit more academic. I mean, from here after it would be simpler, because new media is a specific term which has a kind of history that I needed to bring it to you, because the social media and new media has been different. Okay, some text is there. People after 1970 traditional media. So something like, I mean, when it comes to traditional media, it's usually owned by local entrepreneurs. Mm, like, I mean, maybe business people, maybe those who have political connection, even though it is not ethically correct. Sri Lankan media industry is heavily influenced by political connections. So, but when it comes to social media companies, they are owned by not by the local companies. Multinational companies, those who have billions and billions money. But there's a difference. Who, I mean, the audience kind of feels, I mean, I really don't feel like when I go into Facebook, my Facebook profile, so I can tell my thing. So, but even for a journalist working in a newspaper, I mean, he might have my desk in the office, but in the part of the public message or wherever it's put, sometimes the name would be published of the writer at a corner, but I mean, there's no kind of profile that is offered to an individual user or a content creator. But in social media, it's a individual branding, individual profile that kind of gives a sense of ownership to individuals. Even though Facebook is owned by a multinational company, which I mean, whose money, whose wealth even I can't imagine of. But I still call it's my Facebook, it's my Instagram, it's my Twitter account. So I mean, this is not something a user of a traditional media could say. So my when it comes to traditional media and new media, so new media is, I said, it's a little bit different from social media. Perhaps something like Gmail and sending an email is not social media, but still it is a new technology, a new media. So when it comes to traditional media and the new media, traditional media usually owned by business owners, and new media owned by also, very large business owners. But at the same time, new media offers a sense of ownership to its users than traditional media. But some new media would not. Like, if television was considered new media, it only provides the users to opportunity to of users sometimes to interact with them when there are live programs. Users may be able to call them, interact to some level. When in compared to print media, that is a radical difference. But compared to social media, that is not. It's more like traditional media calling a television channel in a live program. So, but whatever we see is the user experience, user interaction has radically been transformed by new media. So what resources you need to start a new media outlet? Or a traditional media outlet? So traditional media outlet, perhaps if it is a newspaper, so you need a company, a press, journalists working there. But and a media outlet in the new media, you just need a mobile phone, perhaps, and then you can start posting pictures or publishing personal stories, even news. So when it comes to journalistic work, I think new media has brought opportunities for individuals to reach into, engage in journalism. Perhaps without even professional journalists, perhaps without much connection with much connection, or sometimes working with the large media companies, sometimes as individuals. And so who produces the content? In traditional media, it's a journalist often, but in new media, the users themselves may produce the content. So who edits the content, who ensures the quality? When it comes to traditional media, it's obviously there are editors or the journalists, or several gatekeepers would edit it, ensure the quality, verify the fact. But in new media, perhaps there's nobody who kind of considered about it other than perhaps social media companies who kind of impose certain ethics in technological manners using artificial intelligence? So how does a journalist get an income, especially in new media? It may be salary from a traditional media outlet, or even it can be, someone who runs a YouTube channel may get an income from YouTube. So it's like a salary, but still it has a difference. It may, the income depends on user, how users view it, the view count. So the depends on the advertisement, and it is also again demand based. So it is not that predictable. Sometimes the income is predictable, but then again, not to the level of traditional media. So how, the last question is how the media ethics are ensured. In traditional media, it is very clear. So there are editors or the chief editor, whoever, as a newspaper, as a company, they may be accountable to, some ethics, journalist, media ethics groups. There are issues. I think in Sri Lanka, both traditional media and new media has been problematic when it comes to media ethics. But in new media, there's been a less control. Media ethics is something, invading people's privacy, violating rights of vulnerable groups is accusation often made at new media, especially social media. So I wish at least if you answer these things, that's better. So what are the benefits of new media for journalists? So how do you do news gathering in new media? I think I shouldn't answer this. Using new media, can you do news gathering?
Yes, sir. When it comes to international news, we can Google certain news from websites like BBC, CNN, and etc.
BBC is an established website. It's yes, new media, you can go to BBC and use it, but I am asking as a journalist, sometimes can you find a person to interview or interesting news somewhere happening through internet? That
Yes,
is
sir.
what I mean by news gathering. So, especially when it comes to new media for journalism, I see in Sri Lanka, mostly journalists use this as a platform for distribution of news. You write an article, you publish it in some website, and you need to put the link somewhere and reach the audiences. That is how in Sri Lanka, new media is mostly used by the professional journalists, but it is beyond that. So journalists may use it for news gathering. So it can provide tips like find story ideas. So people post their personal things, sometimes something they have seen in the neighborhood, mm, or something that is not reported. I mean, a mainstream thing. I recently saw that one person has reported about a woman who has been attacked in Gotagogama on with the May 9th attack. About her responses and how she tells about it. So I really looked into whether mainstream media has reported on her personal story or not. Perhaps a journalist sees something like that and then finds that person or a similar other person. So an investigative journalist might find just tips lines over there, so he or she can further investigate, further find details and make a story. So it's just perhaps for some journalists going through Twitter or going through Facebook newsfeed or Instagram might give story ideas. So then they will do the traditional news work. So perhaps sources. So they think I'm a journalist. I am working on difficulties faced by students because of online education. So I need to get some opinions from some parents. So if I post put a post on my Facebook profile or on Twitter, if I have followers or perhaps personal friends, they might respond. If I put a post saying I would like to get some ideas from parents on this issue, so some of them would provide some of the ideas as comments online. So analyzing those comments or quoting those comments, I can write an article itself. These are the comments I got when I put this post online. So these are the difficulties that parents have, or perhaps I can pick the contact details from online social media thing. So I would separately contact the person and get the further information for the story I am working on. So it may be the entire content. So perhaps the entire story I might find from a user generated content or crowdsourced information. Some of the biggest news, even some trending news, most important, for example, the death of Osama bin Laden. That was captured by a neighborhood person when the American forces were in the area. He just posted online on Twitter, I think, how the news that American forces are surrounded the area. So later only the news came that Osama bin Laden's residence has been attacked. So the news that individual person made became viral, and a lot of mainstream media wanted to interview that person. So things like that can happen often, unexpectedly. Sometimes, though there are a lot of news that might not have a news value, there's always something important in the news feed. So the challenge is how you can find this piece of information that is worthy to write a piece of news. So the distribution of the news. So this, I think, much more is used to a lot of reporters in Sri Lanka, at least a lot of media outlets. So share on multiple platforms as they report from the field. Here's a typo. This is not much done. I mean, sometimes journalists may put updates from the field itself without waiting waiting the media companies, the big media companies or newspaper like things to publish it when it comes to live updates of a certain political condition or something happening now. So there may be live updates at multiple platforms. So multiple platforms can include perhaps Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok, or Twitter. So, I mean, from platform to platform, how the updates are shared are different. So, provide real-time updates on stories, adapt storytelling language on each platform, use mobile devices to capture, produce, publish content. So, this way, then the other important thing is the audience engagement. So effective engagement with the audience include consistent and authentic interactions and informal yet professional tone, openness and responsiveness to audience feedback. So audience is not passive like in the traditional media. Audience engages in social media. Audience, I mean, if you publish something that users won't agree, they would comment on it saying that they disagree or this is wrong. And if you mistakenly write a story that might be wrong, the users might pinpoint you, this is fake news or this is wrong news. Things like that can happen. So maybe or from the audience engagement, then again trending happens. Sometimes, I mean, not journalists, but some might use certain things seem like fake news, certain things seem to be going against the ethics, maybe used to gain attention, because a lot of things are dependent on the audience engagement, the trending reach, things like that. So if you have run a Facebook page, you would definitely know if you have with some understanding, if you have run, the statistics matter. You can go to the list of posts that you have published, so you can evaluate how much I have reached, how much this post has reached, how much this post has this post has not reached much, and then the details about the audience, how many men and women were reached, their geographical locations, from where they reach. I mean, things like that, those statistics about the audience engagement you can get. If you properly analyze them, you can understand why this post didn't reach and why this post is reaching. You, not only just commenting on things, you might be provided with tools to analyze user information, then adjust the way of responding, your engagement according to that. So from there I would go into new media usage in Sri Lanka. So I could have put slides, but rather I wanted to encourage you to read the report. So I have put the URL. So let's have a look at what kind of, when it comes to computer literacy in Sri Lanka, and literacy means also the access. So the highlighted ones are 1 out of 3 person aged 5 to 69 is computer literate. Computer literate rate is 34% free. But 1 out of 2 persons is digitally literate. So digital literacy rate is 57.2. How does this happen? So this happens with the internet use or the ability to use a mobile phone. So 22% 9 household on desktop or laptop computer. Urban sector shows more literated on both computer and digital literacy. What you need then again, who has been neglected? The neglected is the estate sector. You would, if you look into the statistics here, you would see desktop is in the estate sector. Desktop is earned by only 4%. Only 4% in of the estate community, even in the 2021. Desktop or laptop. Desktop is a 1.6. So while the urban community owns around 40%, rural community owns 21%, and the state community has only 4%. So we see how much, I mean, this itself can be a part of a story that you write. One thing about the new media is that, I mean, I don't know how many of you try on data journalism. I'm not going to speak at this one, but this kind of data itself can make, they can be tip lines for new news stories or feature articles. I mean, based on this statistic. For example, you might go to a state sector community and write an article about the internet access, IT usage in the state sector. So when it comes to, this is about computer literacy. So when it comes to digital literacy rate, in the state sector, it's 38%, while the urban sector, 72%. So what is digital sector? The digitally digitally literate person is a person if he could use a computer, laptop, tablet, or smartphone. So because of the smartphone access, so the digital literacy has actually gone up up to 72% of in the urban sector. (72% in the urban sector, 55% in the rural sector, and 38% in the estate sector. And among women, it's 54%, and among male, there's a 60% when it comes to digital literacy. So there is a gender gap in the digital literacy and also in the computer literacy that we could clearly see that women have been disadvantaged. So next, perhaps have you gone through this digital data portal? Any of you? Because this is a widely shared document. This is also so internet use in 2022. So there are 11.34 million internet users in Sri Lanka in January 2022. So Sri Lanka's internet population rate is stood at 52% of the total population at the start of 2022. So let's have internet connection speeds in Sri Lanka. Let me think there should be. Okay, perhaps we can go through their PowerPoint a little bit. I won't go through all the slides. So let's see global one. So this is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's total population is 21.5 million. So the cellular connections is 32 million. So more than our population, we have cellular or mobile phone connections. So internet users are 11.3 million. So active social media users is 8.2 million. Roughly around 38% of the population are active social media users. So while the total population grows from 0.4%, the cellular and mobile phone connection grows more, 3% to 3.2%, and internet users grows by 4%. So we are kind of expanding digital economy. So each year, some 3 or 4% social media users or the internet users would grow. So population essentials. These are general statistics about Sri Lanka. So these are number of internet users. I think so through mobile devices, this is a very important thing. Those who use social media are 90% of the social media users access through their mobile devices. So if you write some article or publish a post, it must be targeted at those who use mobile devices, because if you share on social media, otherwise you would be only targeting 1% of the social media users. So I won't be going into details, but when it's to designing post, how you make it graphically attractive, all these things matter. So I think you can go through this more leisurely, since I think I can share the presentation with you. So the mobile phones are 61% by traffic, and laptop and desktop computers are 37%. Tablet devices are 1%. So other devices are almost zero. So when it comes to web traffic, so 60% of mobile phones. So browsers, Chrome is the most popular browser in Sri Lanka. Firefox is unfortunately 2%. So these are the most visited websites in Sri Lanka. From Google, 17 million, YouTube 19 million. So google.lk, daras.lk, Zoom, Hero FM. So most of the people use Google. 97% use the search engine as the Google, while Bing is 1%, Yahoo is 0.4%. So DuckDuckGo is an important one, even though 0.5, DuckDuckGo doesn't track the user's information. So these are the mostly used queries in the Google search. When it comes to social media, so number of users is 8.2 million. So 38 from the total population, and there's a gender gap. 60% free of total media users are male, and 36% are female. So obviously there's a gender gap why females are not using social media. Would make a very interesting investigative article. I mean, not one article. If you look into, you may make a list of articles. What it makes less Sri Lankan women to be in social media. What are the underlying reasons? So this is how the social media users have improved within, I mean, less than 10 years, 6 million from 2004 to January 2014 to 2022, from 2 million to 8.2 million. So 6.2 million has increased within 8 years time. So I will stop here. I mean, there are so many information you might, you could yourself go and see, I think, I guess. So I will, perhaps I will go back to my presentation again. So I look at the new media usage information about the statistics that there are. I mean, there are so many information. If you go through this digital 2022, the data portal report, and those things can be, I mean, new stories can be made based on this information. So the next part I was asked was to cover on Google products. So I won't be covering much actually, but I will list out certain kind of Google products. One is search. I mean, we everybody think we know how to search, but I am not sure how many of you use the customized search. Like if you want to find an information that happened this year or some 5 years back, do you use Google customized search for that? Is anyone speaking? Have you tried any of you tried Google customized search? Like, let me go. Customized search is if you Google. So I think Sri Lanka Parliament. Okay. So I need to know what happened today. So here I will put past 24 hours. So I should be able to see what are the most recent updates on Sri Lankan Parliament, or is there something now going on? So I can from here I can see. So Sri Lankan Parliament passes interim budget. This is 59 minutes ago. So most recent updates I can see. Perhaps this is not what I am looking for. I need to know what happened in 2015 on the same day. So perhaps I can make a story each what happened in Parliament on I mean on today, a year ago, the year even before. So something, I mean, I look for a certain date and using a Google search, you would perhaps make a very interesting article. I don't know, but you can try it out. So perhaps then keywords matter. What kind of, I mean, if you want to search for something, which keywords you would use? Like I use Sri Lanka Parliament here. If you want to look for what happens, I mean, is there anything with that Ranil Wickremesinghe has said, or you just need to know what is happening to environment? Sri Lanka. So I choose environment, Sri Lanka. So I might want to know what happened this week. So Sri Lanka appoints 8 committees to improvement investment environment 1 day ago. So I might write some article more investigating into this. So things like that might be possible if you use the customized Google search. So the Gmail, I think everybody is using Gmail, so I won't go into details. Chrome, Maps, YouTube. So YouTube is an interesting place that you might be able to do journalism there. You can start a YouTube channel, start putting videos, edit yourself, engage with the audience. Or I mean, earlier, when the traditional media was there, you needed to go through an internship perhaps in a traditional media organization. Just wait until you finish your studies, but now it is not like you just need some good phone which you can shoot and post videos on YouTube. I mean, an iPhone would easily provide a tool for editing and publishing. So young people, even without proper journalist training, are becoming content creators in YouTube and earning incomes. So there are more Google products. So there's Google Calendar, then Chromebooks and Google Contacts, Google Earth. I'm sure everybody has used Google Drive. And Google Form is an interesting tool again, as you might be able to create a kind of survey, and based on the survey's results, let me go to Drive. If I go to Google Drive, my Google Drive, so I can create a Google form here. So I am able to create, I need to write an article, but people are thinking of the economic difficulties these days. So I will create a quiz or a survey and distribute it, and I get the statistics, data. So based on that, I will write a feature article about, I conducted some survey and distributed it over to through my social media circles, and people have responded. I get like 100 responses or 50 responses from them. So based on that, I can completely write an article. So you don't need to go interviewing people, asking questions. If you can manage to get responses to a Google form, that itself will make a big difference. So Google goes beyond, even so there's Google Authenticator, Google Chat, Google Classroom. So Find My Device is another interesting thing. So if you lost the phone, your device can be found. Google Flights and Google Payments, Google Play. So there are so many Google. So what is actually, and Google Maps? Google is a multi-billion company that provides us, so-called free services, not free actually. They are selling the user data, obviously, for the advertisers and other. So we are, in a way, consumers of their services, and also we are their clients in a way. So they show advertisement. So we kind of live in the Google's space, using their resources, doing work. So Google and privacy is another concern, I think. Even though Google promises a lot of privacy, you might be able to control a lot of your things if you check your settings. So I suggest you to check myactivity.com in Google. So if you go into, I mean, if you in phone, actually, you could click manage my activity. Usually here I have switched off web and app activity. All the things you have done, like search what you have searched yesterday, day before, perhaps 10 years back, would be there if you are using the same email address. So if the location history is on, there would be locations, I mean, wherever you travel, all the information would be there. So YouTube history would be there. When YouTube history is on, it will suggest the, I mean, similar ones that you have often watched. If the web activities history is on, it will suggest the advertisement that you have searched for in the recent past. So if you are concerned about the having a lot of privacy like me, you might turn off these things. And also Google accesses your contacts. So if you go into this link, all your contacts, usually if you haven't deleted or haven't given the access, you will see all your mobile contacts are here usually. So the Gmail app accesses your contacts and it gets recorded here. So Google in many ways has invaded our privacy, and also the use of Gmail and other things may have created new problems, partly because you are less aware of the settings that they offer, and partly because our own ignorance, partly because they are a company that have to depend on the user data and sell them. They are not a charity company, so they would definitely, the profit making companies would definitely try to use the user data. So we are doing a game on using their platforms. Actually, there's no my Gmail account, there's no my Facebook account. Actually, they are owned by those companies, but I have a sense that I own, and we could do business or our profession in their platforms by creating an account. So it's a kind of it's not an innocent game, but yeah, they also benefit, we also benefit. That's, I think, a fair game. And also I didn't talk about the fake news. As journalists, when you depend on social media sources for writing news pieces and all, one challenge you would obviously meet is fake news. So how to identify fake news? When you see something, if you are suddenly so much excited, just take a little bit away. Check your emotions. Usually fake news are created in a way to attract your emotions, or they get popular because they address to you people's emotions. And you should be aware of your own biases. We all have biases, so we might believe a fake story because of our own biases. like I mean a journalist who might have some ethnic bias would believe if a certain thing is done by a person of this specific ethnicity. So be aware of that. I mean that cannot be correct, and that might go wrong. Or because a person is from a certain class or a certain area, we might think for granted this might have happened. So refrain from sharing right away. Do your homework before deciding whether to share a social media post or an article. So what are homework? I wish if you could answer. What can be done to identify a fake news? I would be finishing soon. So one thing is, as a journalist also, since you are not speaking, I will speak. But I wish if this has been interactive, no. So you have to evaluate consider the source or author, which background they are coming from, what is the profile, if it is a journalist or some official source, or if not, what are the details in the source, and maybe it's a picture. So if it is a picture, use the Google image source, image search. So whether the photograph has been used in other news. For example, think so images.google.com recently today I saw this image, the president's image in Thailand came to use the thing. Yeah, this one I think. So if you want to look for a image where that is coming from, so this one is not I mean president has come to Sri Lanka, has passed the airport, but this all picture was used. So I wanted to check where this image was used. So I look for Google images search. So what when I check, there's news on 11th August. Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa flew by private jet to Singapore to Thailand. So this has been captured in Thailand on 11th August, and I see after that it has been used. So what I can do is I need to search exactly who captured this one. So I search whether the picture has been used before 11th August. So I put from 1st August to 10th August. 10th August, not 11th August, whether who has published this. So I see only Reuters has done. So this photo has been captured by Reuters. So these are kind of tools. I mean, I don't know. You might have used Google image search. So these are kind of ways that you would be able to kind of dig into sources when you want to verify things. And this image, I mean, after years, this image could be used to tell completely, make a completely different fake story. So I think I don't need to explain you much. So you need to look for the details. What is there to identify the fake news? As a journalist, you should try to verify the facts to the level possible. So it is, if you rely on sources from social media, it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, I mean, you should be smart. So I think I have covered a lot of things. So the new media journalism, what kind of challenges you have. I mean, obviously this fake news is a challenge, and then how do you uh, have protect the, I mean, have the media ethics, at the same time effectively use um, social media or new media as a tool of journalism is another challenge. And also I think the cost of thing, maybe, I mean, if you have a better camera, if you have a better laptop or better editing software, the opportunities are, I mean, the effective use and all might depend on the equipment you have, but not really. If you are smart enough, even with the whatever the, I mean, even a cheap phone would allow you, and you may increase the quality in different ways. So it's a kind of opportunity, and people from rural areas with the least resources have managed to use social media to gain different opportunities. So using new media for journalism, I think it's not a special thing now. It's a general skill that all journalists should have, especially for your generation. It won't be a special qualification. It's something that all the journalists would know when you go into the industry. I mean, the people at your age. But the challenge is how to do it more effectively. So as further readings, I will end up here, and also I will go through especially further readings. So these two books I am suggesting, this Mobile and Social Media Journalism, a Practical Guide. I think this book is better if you download and have a look at. Let me check. So I will go through its content actually, because it may provide you, I mean, I have covered only a little part of the entire, even not the new media, even with regards to social media journalism. So when it comes to social media journalism, the traditional media uses one way of communication. I mean, it's rarely the audience gets the opportunity to respond to the media agency, but in social media, journalism remains as the conversation. So the role of the gatekeepers changes. So anymore, the editors, producers, or those who invest money can't really control the audience. So there's an active audience who deals with the journalist. So the journalists use social media for news gathering, distribution of news, audience engagement. So So newsrooms have changed. The mobile phone has become a tool for journalism. So social media branding and journalism, then again, because the individual journalist may have social media brand over there. For example, in Sri Lanka, when Azam Amin was fired from the BBC, I mean, if it was a all generation, if he was an all generation journalist, the things might have been lot different and difficult. But he maintained the online branding, so nothing really was different, and he could easily shift into another organization and use the same social media branding to promote uh, a new organization. So news wire actually became possible and this much of popular after Azam Amin joined. So, and also social media audit. So you might be, you should be able to search the information, analyze, act, and privacy is a matter. So, so assume everything is public. So then social news gathering. So from the field, how do you use, I mean, do certain things? So mobile friendly web stories. I told you that when looking at the statistics, most of our Sri Lankan users are using their mobile phones to access the social media websites. So definitely your whatever you write should be mobile friendly. If not, it is not going to reach. So social media engagement and audience analytics, actually, I mean, especially in a Facebook page, you would be able to see the statistics. So even in other social media platforms, the how many people have liked, how many people have reacted, I mean, what makes comments, live coverage, and lot of things. I mean, the how to keep and engage audience matters. Without a reach, if the news are not reaching, if the posts are not reaching, even though you do quality work, it may not be that significant or earning you a good income. So these are there are ethical dilemmas. I mean, how like I pointed out, when with regards to media ethics, there may be issues. I mean, but still, as professional journalists, I believe you get very good training in the media ethics. So you should try to verify the user generated information. So check with the other sources, so copyrights and all. So I mean, the general things you do in journalism, try to bring into social media also. So when you take a photo, try to acknowledge it. From where did you take it? Sometimes it's not possible to find. At least use the Google image search and try to find. So fake news is something you should definitely deal with. You should develop a lifelong skill how to identify fake news if you are going to work as a journalist. So I suggest you to read this book. I mean, I have covered on a very little part of this. So from there, I will stop my lecture, and if you have questions here, you can ask, or any feedback, I would appreciate. Even the negative ones. I saw most of you were not responding to the question, so I feel whether there was anything bad mind from my point, because I referred to a lot of theories at the beginning. So was it a reason that uh, made you kind of less interactive?
Mr. Charlie, Damit, that Abby spoke about blogging.
Sorry, I couldn't hear
Blogs.
you.
Did we talk about blogs, regarding blogs?
No, I can actually.
Can you just give a little brief
Because
about blogs? If you
any of you are running blogs?
was that I couldn't hear you.
Any of you are running blogs actually currently?
I don't know whether students you have to answer, but we are expecting students to create blogs on their own in future. Not
Okay.
But
So
normally, just give a small introduction, because in the future only we will talk about that regularly. We have to
right. Since it was not included in the overall learning outcomes, I didn't specifically include. I think one way is not only blogs that you as students, media students, or upcoming professionals, you should have the online profiles. A blog is a place where you keep. I mean, if somebody asks where's your work, so it's a place that you can send a sample work to a future workplace. So the blog, even the social media profiles, all this can become a part of your CV. And CVs have now, I didn't show you, I think especially this CVs also have radically changed now. And some use graphic CVs. Uh, one way, I mean, the topic of the blog can be changed. I mean, some of you might do a blog on food, or some of you might do a blog on news items, or the news happening at the College of Journalism. So the uh, topic actually, what kind of, why you run a blog is diverse actually. So I can't, I mean, without, I mean, if you have a kind of uh, I'm doing a blog on this and all. I think I don't need to teach you how to write an article or a blog post. But I mean, so blogs are actually different. So what is the difference between a blog and a website? Is a blog is kind of a personal diary like kind of thing. It's a part of a bigger website. So in a blog, you should be you can post various posts. Most probably they would appear chronologically. You may be able to create pages, and mm, without much of understanding of the web designing, you can easily create a blog. Ideally, a place like blogspot.com, which is again owned by Google, or the WordPress.com. I prefer actually WordPress. So in places like this, you would be able to create a blog, and perhaps later you can later convert it into a website. So I have run certain blogs. I mean, this certain blogs even operated as a news website. I think this I don't remember what Tarindu runs is a blog as a news website, and a lot of people access it. So there can be, I mean, if we don't have much money to invest on a website, so you might start with the blog these days, but blog itself, if you create a blog and keep it on a site that everybody will come and read it, this that won't happen. You need to, whatever you write in blogs, you need to bring it to the social media, share it there, and put it in a way that captures the attention of the social media users. And also blog should be mobile friendly. From designing they are, but how you always check whether when you write and put it, whether it's readable on the mobile. Very long text, very long things won't be, I mean, sometimes it works, but won't be, usually it won't be much attractive to audiences. So I think I can give you a general guideline of something like that, but if you guys can tell me, this is my plan. I plan to start a blog on this topic, so I can give you some of ideas. But the best thing is you do a blog. Don't need to listen to lectures how to do a blog. You just do the blogging. And like I earlier said, a blog can be a portfolio of your work, and it can be a CV. I mean, your CV also can be posted there, and also your CV can be linked to a blog. So it's not a waste that you invest time on writing a blog. It is a future investment. Whatever the work you do can be posted over there, and like in social media profiles, you won't be able to find certain posts after some time, but when there's a place, at least your work would be archived. So I'm not running, let me show you my blog. I'm not running it, I haven't updated recently, but let me go. So basically, I use this for archival purposes, not really to reach like a journalist. So I haven't put my name, but it has various posts on several researches I did, some poetry, and some presentation. And there's a presentation I did on sexuality, gender, and media ethics. So perhaps you would find interesting. I mean, this is a basic one. And since my purpose is kind of archiving. So there was another blog before. I don't know whether it is there. I did for my organization. Yeah. So we started a new blog and gave this up, but all the reports are there. So each menu there's a report. This is too many menus though. So, but later we went into a different website. So you might use the blogs for different purposes. Like you might post reports, or you might do it as a personal diary. or different different other purposes, or I mean, on food, on fashion, on protests, on politics. It can be about anything, but blogs are now little bit being in Sri Lanka. It's being a little bit now popular. I think blogs are much more popular in early 2010s, 11s. Those days now, I think social media has gained lot of space than blogs. Most people write directly on social media, but if you want to write detailed, I mean, articles, you won't face the issue that that the limited number of characters in social media. I mean, in a Twitter post, you would be given very limited number of characters. So what you can do is you can give a kind of few lines on Twitter, but then can lead into the blog. When it comes, so I think Twitter also an interesting area that I must tell you, especially if you into it. I mean, in Twitter is somewhat less used in Sri Lanka. So the number of text you can write is limited. So if I type like this, so there's a button. My screen is shared. Yeah, let me share. So Twitter is an interesting website. So I mean, you can only share certain number of characters. So here it usually shows the how many characters that you can type. So when you are finished with characters, so you can add a place location here. The most interesting thing about Twitter is the hashtags. So trending hashtags they will show on the side. And as a journalist, the other interesting tool is the Tweetdeck actually. Tweetdeck.twitter.com. So you can monitor several hashtags at the same time. Like think you are reporting on something very dynamic, like election results. So you could monitor several hashtags at once. If it is dynamically happening, like this LK one, you will see that this is now 29 seconds ago. This, so there are so many news that uses the same hashtag. If there are even in one of the work you organize or something you want to monitor, if a unique hashtag was used, you can monitor whatever is happening. So Tweetdeck is an interesting tool where you might find interesting I mean, as places to get ideas for news, or the monitor the big data, the big happenings of a dynamic situation, like when Gogotagama thing, the anti-government protests were going. If you put here all the hashtags, you would see from time to time what's being posted by or throughout the Twitter. So it really gives the opportunity to kind of, go beyond our newsfeed and to look for specific hashtags, what is happening time to time. So I will stop there. There are 4 minutes left if you have any more other questions.